Alright, so, oh, let me get the timer started. So apparently, a slap can be dubstep. Let's sort this out. Let's zoom in. So here's the slap. It can be better. So just going to turn up the gain, make it a little more visible. We've got a little crunch after, so I'm going to remove that. That's all we've got for a clap. All right. Well, let's get started. So, first, let's turn it into a kick. So I'm going to keep this as the slap. I'm going to Command X, Command V, put it into the kick section. Bam. All right, so get it to the line. There we go. Bring this forward, literally all the way to the fucking, let's do it all the way there. Let's get even closer, all the way to there, call it. Bring it there. We're going to keep the little click of it starting. Maybe I zoom in just there like that. All right, so I'm going to keep it on beats, and I'm going to keep it on beats, pitch it down. Cool. Add some saturation. Add some saturation. Add some saturation. EQ that fucker. You can see right here, the peak is here. We need that peak to be here. We need it around 100. So let's pitch it down a little more. That's a lot better. Now let's increase the drive. That's sounding a little more kick-like. There we go. Let's keep the high end, and there's some frequencies that I don't like, so I'm going to clean it up a bit. The tail is arguably too long. I'm going to shorten it. Cool. And we'll cut out that low end. Something tonal that I don't like here. Good. Let's add some more saturation. Great. And let's freeze it and flatten it. We've got ourselves our kick. And not the cleanest, not the prettiest, but it's a fucking kick, yo. Alright, next up, let's get a snare going. Honestly, the slap already kind of sounds like a snare. Let's hear it in total. It's not the best. It's not the best. All right, we need some EQ on that. That's what I want, and I'm going to saturate the fuck out of it. That's good. I'm going to add a peak around 200. That's where I want the punch of the snare to be hitting. Not the best, does the job. We'll add a little erosion just to add a little substance to it. Lovely. And some reverb. There it is, and we'll flatten it. And we'll freeze it. That is our new snare. Bam. Isn't that looking pretty? I'm going to move it onto the trigger area so that it can sort of duck under our audio when we need it to. And I'm going to clean that part up as well. So the kick is that, bam. The snare is that, bam. So time for some hi-hats. Already this sounds like a hi-hat. I might just leave it as is for the hi-hat. Too quick. It's decent, needs some EQ in. Let's clean that up. Add some EQs. And a little bit of reverb. Awesome. Add a little zhuzhing. A little bit there. That kick needs some work. It needs, let's check. Problem with erosion, it doesn't go low enough. Saturation is fine. We could add some overdrive. Let's have a listen. Definitely not. We can try increasing the transients. Increase the boom. Try some crunch. Before, after. A little better. And one more time, we'll add some saturation. Hopefully it thickens it up a bit more. Okay, cool. And the snare is good, needs elongating. So let's try the same treatment. Cool. So we've got our kick, we've got our snare, we've got our hi-hats. Time for the bass line. We're going to use our trusty serum and simply drag the waveform into the oscillator. Never mind, it doesn't want to work that way. Let's see how I can do it. Sample. Drag the waveform into the oscillator. Nope, doesn't work. Sounds, let's find it, hang on. Slap video. And I can open this in a new tab. Sounds. Foley. Okay, so I've got the audio here. It's actually the video audio. And I'm just going to drag it in. It's too long. Oh, it wants to know where it went. Ableton Songs 2025 Work in Progress. I can tell you what it is. It's that. Oh, shit crashed. Damn. I hope I saved it before. There we go. That solved it. But it doesn't change the fact that I can't just drag this shit in, which is whack. I think I should be able to do that. I think it's too big to go in. Let's have a look. How the fuck do we bring that in? Menu. What the fuck? Am I just bad? I mean, obviously. Load sample. There it is. And let me just double check this works. No, that's not what I wanted. Go back to where you came from, please. I think the song is too long. I think the video is too long, and that's why it's like that. What if I just paste it? That'd be so sick. It's so whack that I can't just drag it from Ableton, into it. I feel like that should absolutely be allowed. I don't know why that's not. Oh, oh wow! Oh, drinks as well. Are you sure you're able to squat that long, Tam? You sure you're able to squat that long? Or your legs are gonna break. Thank you, Tam. Bye bye. All right. Well, whilst I'm eating, should we watch something? We'll get back to it in a moment. Let's watch some YouTube. I like to watch YouTube whilst I'm eating. Let's see what we've got. Aaron Cairo being cooked. Music production. KSI getting pranked. This food looks so good. Oh, Little Big Planet. That was good. What should we watch? Tourette's Faker. Whack. Dave skateboarding with just a bunch of people falling. Could do this one. Can you beat Simpsons Hit and Run without driving? Let's give that a go. I feel like no, but let's have a look. After the ads.
The Simpsons Hit and Run is a game all about driving. There are a ton of cars to collect, races to win, and children to run over, so the idea of beating this game without ever touching a steering wheel sounds impossible and stupid. But I'm Stoopy, and I play games wrong all the time, although I don't think I've ever attempted a playthrough more wrong than this one. Regardless, I'm still going to try and see if The Simpsons Hit and Run can be beaten without ever driving a single vehicle. The game starts us off playing as Homer with an easy introductory level of heading to the Quickie Mart for some ice cream and Buzz Cola, but we're instantly hit with our first dilemma. The first step of this mission actually requires us to get into our vehicle, but thankfully we aren't forced to drive it, so we can hop straight back out and run over to the shop instead. No time limit, no racing, just a simple run there and back. Well, actually on the way back I hopped onto an NPC's car and he very kindly carried me back home. Which brings me to the rules of this challenge. If I, the player, am in control of any vehicle at any point, the challenge is over. I'm not in control of this car I'm on, therefore riding on top of it is perfectly acceptable. I'll be playing all 7 levels and the 7 main story missions in each one that you are required to beat in order to reach the credits. I won't be attempting any extra side quests or missions that aren't required for me to beat the game. If I manage to reach the credits without driving any vehicles, then nice, I did it. Arriving back home marks the true beginning of the game and our first real mission, a race to give Lisa her art project at school between me and Principal Skinner. But of course, Skinner is in a car and I'm not. Now, you might not know this, but Homer is not exactly known for being a speed demon. So this was already looking pretty hopeless, but even still, I did have some ideas I wanted to try. First off, I tried riding an NPC's car like I had just done, which might have had some potential if they were even slightly aware they were in a race and didn't stop for every single stop sign. So instead, I tried to see if there was even a small glimmer of hope that Homer could somehow win this race just by running the whole way. There was not, but he did actually get further than I expected, and this spurred me to keep on trying, so I looked to using map shortcuts to give me as much of a lead as possible. I found that behind my house there's a route I can take which gets me to the Quickie Mart faster than Skinner does. Now this was in no way a big enough lead to win the race, but it did pop a new idea into my head. And then can we get on his car? Maybe. Okay, maybe that's the play. Maybe we take that shortcut and jump on his car. So on my next attempt I ran back around the garden and clocked Skinner's approach as he came around the corner. I wasn't sure if this was going to work, but as the traffic slowed him down, I jumped up and landed directly on the roof of his car. Now as he raced towards the finish line, I was right there with him the whole way, but I still didn't know how to finish the race. The first few tries I was attempting to jump off near the end, hoping that the car would knock me or I would get flung towards the finish line, but the kinds of physics I was hoping for just weren't in the game. So I tried again, this time making sure to stay at the very front of the car, and this was looking good. The game recognized I was in first place the entire way, but even though it clearly said first place when we reached the finish line, I was still failing the mission. If that wouldn't work, then there was only really one way of winning this race. What we really needed now was just a little bit of luck, and after a couple more attempts, the tides eventually turned in our favor. Wait.
Oh wow.
He got stuck. He got stuck between the cars. Yes, we won the race. Thanks to a very fortunate car crash, we actually managed to beat Skinner and complete our very first mission. So if you didn't believe in this challenge before, maybe now you might start. The next mission was pretty straightforward. We had to find and return items we took from Flanders within the designated time limit. Thanks to this being the first level, the time limit they gave was extremely generous and we were able to find all of Flanders' items with plenty of time to spare just by running around as normal. At this point, I was feeling great. 2 out of 2 missions down and I was beginning to think there was nothing I wouldn't be able to do. But then came along mission 3. When I read what we had to do for mission 3, I was instantly scared. I had to purchase and use the Plow King to blow up Smithers' car. Despite any doubts I had, I still bought the Plow King and started to think about ways I could damage Smithers' car without being in one myself. And honestly, I just couldn't think of anything. But as it turns out, no idea I ever thought of would have ever come to fruition, because the instant I stepped out of my car, I was shown something much worse. A 10-second timer instructing me to get back into my vehicle. This was it, the end of the line. There is no possible way of beating this mission without driving because the game simply does not allow me to be out of my vehicle. So is that it? Is the game over? Well, not necessarily. Which brings me to any percent speedruns and this game's overly generous difficulty system. Simpsons Hit and Run is a very forgiving game. If you suck ass and fail a mission 7 times, the game deems you incompetent and gives you the option to skip the mission in its entirety and move on to the next. This feature alone is what makes this challenge possible, and it's the only reason I thought to attempt it in the first place. At least that is what I thought at the time. It turns out that later on in the game, there are some missions that we can't skip no matter how many times we fail, which I'll admit was unexpected, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. For now, as I head over to the power plant for my next mission, I'll quickly mention that it would be extremely boring if I just skipped every mission in the game, so I'm only going to use it for situations like that where it is absolutely necessary. For every other mission, I'm going to do everything I can to complete them without driving and without needing to skip. With that cleared up, we've now arrived at Homer's place of work for mission 4. This is one of the easiest missions in the game because it's one you're not supposed to use a car for in the first place, so we can run around and destroy these little robot things the same as if we were doing a normal playthrough. I then hitched a ride back home for mission 5, which is once again a new mission format that we haven't seen yet. Homer's growing suspicion of the black camera vans around Springfield pushes him to try and follow one back to where it came from. The only issue is, Homer's polygonal feet are not fast enough to keep up with it, and if you don't stay within a certain distance of the van, then the mission fails. It didn't take me long to realize that the best way for me to keep up with the van would be to become the van. That's right, the solution was once again to just jump onto the vehicle. This van was a bit more reckless than the rest of them though. For certain obstacles like ramps, oh no, bad driving, and murdering innocent civilians. He works here now, I guess. And we're running him over. Oh no. I had to sort of shuffle around the van to make sure I didn't get knocked off. It took a few tries, but eventually we managed to ride all the way and find that Mr. Burns is the one seemingly behind all of the weird going-ons in Springfield, which takes us to mission 6, where we are once again smacked with the dreaded 10-second countdown. Another mission we are forced to skip in order to make way for the final challenge of level 1. The final mission is the longest race so far, going around the entire map. Now, there is the potential to use our current strategy of riding Smithers' car the entire way, but there was one idea I felt I had to try before doing anything else, which brings me to why I'm beating up Carl in the power plant car park. One of the most famous speedrunning tricks in this game is called Carl Skip. In a normal playthrough, when you start this race, the game blocks off the path behind you. This forces the player to take the long way around the map towards the finish line, but with Carl Skip, you can push Carl past this blockade before the race starts, opening up a new, much shorter route to the finish line. And what I want to find out is if Homer can run this faster than Smithers can drive this. After one failed attempt, I pushed Carl into a more optimal position. With the race now set up, it was time to find out if Homer was indeed fast enough to win this race on foot. We're in first. Don't know what position we're in. The game's confused. We're first. The finish line is just over there. I can see him on the map, but I don't think he's close. I think we've got it. I think we've got it. Yes, we did it. He won by a landslide, and that marked the completion of the first level. But as happy as I was about this win, I knew this game was only going to get harder and harder. Level 2 kicks us off with a brand new mission format that we haven't seen before. We're playing as Bart, who has skipped school today to get his hands on the new Bone Storm game, so our first mission is to simply run to the shrine safe to pick it up. We get a somewhat decent time to do this in, so I started just running towards the goal, but on my way, we encounter Principal Skinner, who is trying to hunt down the students who skipped school today, so our new objective is now to get as far away from Skinner as possible. After juggling around with him for a bit, I realized he was always going to be faster than me no matter what, and my best bet was to just run and hope he gets stuck somewhere along the way. And that is when I noticed the glowing neon sign of Moe's Bar. It turns out that entering a building counts as being far away from the vehicle. We wouldn't have any time to stop for a drink though, as the game instantly swapped back to the original objective. I had just under 2 minutes to get there, and I had no knowledge of how far it was. So I just ran hoping for the best, used a taxi for a bit of extra speed, and arrived with plenty of time to spare. And after doing all of that, a quick conversation with Jimbo Jones completes mission 1 for us. Mission 2 was right around the corner, so before I started, I collected some coins because there are always missions in this game that require some kind of purchase, so it's better to keep collecting them as I go. This mission was a time trial, which had us race around to different locations to collect fireworks. The time limits, however, are a lot shorter than they were back in level 1, giving us only a minute to get back to Moe's. I tried to get as far as I could, as fast as I could, but unfortunately, there just wasn't enough time to get to Moe's without driving. I didn't give up there though. I kept trying, and eventually I realized that I was overlooking a key detail to this mission. The very first step is actually not to get to Moe's, it's to get into our vehicle, and for it, there is no time limit. So I just ran all the way to Moe's, used this phone booth right outside to call my vehicle, and the moment I hopped inside, the task was complete. This was the same for every location in this mission. I would just run to the nearest phone booth, call my vehicle, and arrive where I needed to be with no concern for the time limit at all. Even Chief Wiggum, who is supposed to chase us down for the final part of this mission, won't chase me unless I'm in my vehicle. So I just ran as far away as I could, called my vehicle, and the moment I was in, I had successfully escaped the police chase. So this actually ended up being one of the easiest missions in the entire game. The concept of easy missions though would quickly come to an end, as we encounter our first impossible mission of the level. It's a race with the comic book guy against a nerd that we are not allowed out of our vehicle for, giving us no choice but to skip to the next mission, which ended up being my favorite mission in the entire game. The first part requires us to follow a pizza van to Herman's Military Antiques so that we can pick up an old radio for Professor Friend. This would have been difficult, but the van actually spawns far enough away that we have enough time to run in front and jump onto it. But it's a little tricky due to the speed the van is going. But once we were on, we managed to ride it all the way to the antique store, only to find out that the radio had been stolen by Snake. This takes us to the second and much more difficult part of this mission. We find Snake a bit further up the road in the process of being run over, and challenge him to a race for the radio he stole. But there's just one problem with the format of the mission. The only way to start this race is by talking to Snake, and once the conversation is over, we both spawn side by side in our respective vehicles. The only way I've found so far to win races is by riding my opponent's car, but by the time I get out of my own, Snake is already long gone. And to make things even more difficult, every time that I lose this race, I'm sent all the way back to the start of the mission and have to do the pizza delivery ride all over again. Honestly, this was a mission I heavily considered skipping, but unlike the other times I've skipped, there are no built-in limitations stopping me from running this race on foot, so I kept trying. I looked for shortcuts, I tried to destroy his car, I searched for anything that would give me some kind of advantage in this race. That's when I remembered who got me through my last race. I once again turned to the speedrunning community. If anyone knows the fastest route to run this race, it's them. So I looked up the world record, and to no one's surprise, they don't just drive the race like normal. They actually go backwards at the start around this giant bend so they can fly off this ramp down to the road below. Now, this wouldn't work for us because we're just a human boy, but there are things human boys can do that cars can't. I don't need the ramp to get down to the road below. I can just jump over the wall. So here's the plan. When the race starts, I'm going to jump onto a car to get me to the top of this road as fast as possible. Then while Snake is going around the giant bend to get to the road below, if the timing is right, I should be able to jump down and get there just as he is coming back around the corner. If I'm there in time, I'll have just a couple of seconds to line myself up properly so that I can jump onto his car as he passes. And somehow, if all of that goes according to plan, we should be free to ride on his bonnet all the way to the finish line. And since I'm technically in front of him, I'll finish the race in first place. And wait, that actually worked. After all that time, we somehow found a way to beat this impossible race without ever driving a car of our own, and we can now claim the radio for ourselves. As incredible as this victory felt, it wouldn't be celebrated for long, as unfortunately Mission 5 is another impossible mission that we have to skip, so we're moving straight on to Mission 6, which is actually the same premise as Mission 5, except this time we are allowed out of our vehicle. Our goal is to collect the 30 loose monkeys in just 4 minutes. It sounds like a lot, but they're actually really close together, and we were able to collect 29 of the monkeys with quite a bit of time to spare. But imagine my disappointment when I saw that the last monkey was hiding all the way up there. As far as I was concerned, the only way up was to jump off this ramp in a car. So now imagine my excitement the next time I tried it and found an elevator that takes me exactly to where I need to be and discover that we can indeed collect all 30 monkeys and complete this mission. But now go straight back to imagining disappointment, because Mission 7 is the one we have to skip. This one hurt a little bit though, because it's the first time I skipped where the game is okay with me being out of my vehicle. And because there was nothing stopping me, I spent way too much time trying to figure out if there was any way to complete this mission. I followed the car up the tunnel and found out that it starts to drive in a loop after a certain point, which at least gave me something to work with. Because I knew the car would keep coming around this road, I created a buildup of traffic here and hoped that when the car crashed into the other cars, it might damage it a little. But this didn't seem to do anything, and even if it did, the time limit I had was too small to destroy the car fully. I kept trying and found out that if I'm in the vehicle the cell car crashes into, then that does do a bit of damage. But regardless, there still just wasn't enough time to pull this off. And then again, even if there were still 2 other cars I had to destroy after this one. I wasn't happy about it, but I had to accept that the only way I would get past this final mission and move on to level 3 was unfortunately to skip it entirely. I sat on this bench and waited to be transported to the next level. The 3rd level, as gorgeous as it is where the game starts to take a noticeable turn for the worst. I've honestly had a blast in the first 2 levels re-exploring a game I used to love in an extremely challenging yet highly rewarding way. As the game gets harder though, the rules are becoming stricter, and that is apparent in level 3 more than ever, because in order to get to level 4, I had to skip 6 of the 7 missions. Missions 1, 3, 4, and 5 all instructed me to stay in my vehicle, making them all automatic skips. But instead of focusing on the gloom, let me instead tell you about Mission 2, the only mission we were able to properly complete. It's a mission that takes us all over this area of Springfield by meeting Milhouse in various locations, as he seemingly has information on where Lisa's missing brother Bart is at, and it's thanks to Bart's level that we know exactly how we can complete this mission. We have a certain time limit to reach each location, but once again, that time limit doesn't begin until we are in our vehicle. So essentially, this mission was a glorified tour of the levels map, and it is my favorite one in the game, so this mission was actually just a nice little treat. Although it did hurt a bit running past the giant ramp, knowing I wouldn't be able to fly off it at any point in this playthrough. As I mentioned, missions 3, 4, and 5 were all skipped, so I moved straight on to mission 6, which gave me a small bit of hope when it let me out of my vehicle. But once I saw how many fish there were to find and the distance between each one, I knew there was 0 chance of us ever collecting them all, so I had to give up pretty quickly on this one. The furthest I could manage was just 9 fish, and just in case you think I didn't try hard enough, even if I got all the way to the end somehow, the last fish spawns over the middle of this bridge, which in itself is impossible to reach without a car, cementing the impossibility of this mission, which I was very disappointed to find was also the case with the final mission of the level. Once again, I'm allowed out of the vehicle, but we are tasked with destroying a limo, which as we know just isn't something we can do without a vehicle of our own. I tried for so long on this one as well, and I had what I thought was some pretty good ideas. On one attempt, I jumped onto the limo, and while trying to brake it with my feet, I noticed my hit and run meter was starting to fill up. So I keep going, and my hope was that the police might rough the car up for me a bit, but I definitely overestimated the capability of Springfield Police Force. On one attempt though, it does appear that the police car exploding did damage the limo slightly. The chances of this happening multiple times though were near 0, and the other issue was when the police did manage to crash into us, all they did was bust me and despawn. So I busted the entire idea, and moved on to literally my only other option. That was to get the biggest vehicle I own, put it somewhat in the limo's path, sit in it, and wait for it to hit us. Yeah, there was just no chance of anything working, so it was time to say goodbye to this level and hope the next would go a bit more in our favor. But that just wasn't the case. The issue I was having was as the game progresses, the missions were getting a lot longer. For example, mission 1 in level 4 tasks us with following the police to Lord Lad's donut shop. I've done missions like this in the past, so I know what to do. If I run straight out my front door, I can hop onto the police car and ride it all the way there. In the easier levels, this would pretty much be mission complete, but now each mission has multiple parts and multiple different challenges to face. So even though we can manage the first part, we then have the task of hitting the donut truck 10 times and collecting each donut it drops. And we know by now that we can't complete any missions that require us to register hits onto a vehicle, so after about 30 minutes of failed attempts, I had to face the fact that the entire mission needed to be skipped. Mission 2 is somewhat similar where we have to follow Cletus's truck and collect the dropped items, but I didn't write this one off straight away, because this time we don't have to hit the vehicle to collect the items. There are however 2 other implications that make this mission impossible. Number 1 is that I can't miss a single item. If I don't pick up a dropped item within a certain time, the challenge fails. And number 2 is that I'm a middle-aged woman running around like a Minecraft zombie and can't keep up with Cletus's truck. I instantly decided that my best bet at beating this mission would be to ride on his truck and collect the items as they drop. That was easier said than done. When this mission starts, we get transported back into our vehicle. This makes it so that there isn't enough time to jump onto his truck before he drives away. So I had to use another trick that I've picked up along the way. For certain missions, you've seen me attempt to build up traffic in the roads to cause vehicles to crash or slow them down. But since most missions are being skipped now, I may as well explain how it's done. Whenever I enter any vehicle, it becomes recognized by the game as mine, meaning it freezes in place and won't move without my control. This effect lasts even if I exit the vehicle. But more importantly, if I was to get into another vehicle, both are now claimed as my own and will stay wherever I leave them. And I can stack this with as many vehicles as I want. I can use this to essentially paint a picture of traffic right in front of where Cletus pulls out. And with a little bit of luck, it will stall him for just enough time for me to be able to jump on. As proud of this maneuver as I was, it wasn't quite enough to be able to complete the mission. I had hoped that the dropped items would spawn directly on top of us, but unfortunately they can spawn anywhere around the vehicle, and I just whiz on by as the mission fails. So after all that, I'm skipping and moving on to mission 3, which is quite a long walk away, right on the other side of the map. And once we get there, we're told we need to purchase Marge's inmate clothes before we can continue. So I spent even more time collecting all the coins I needed, purchased the outfit, and then when we finally got to attempt the mission, it had to be skipped. But thankfully, the next mission was a race, and I've been known to beat these in the past, and this time would be no different. This was a surprisingly easy mission compared to the others we've been faced with. The only real obstacle I faced was this glass pane, but on the next attempt, we were able to go straight for it, and I carried on all the way to the end and won the race. It was always a really nice feeling when I was actually able to complete a mission rather than skip it, but mission 5 was another item collecting mission, and that had to be skipped. If we sneak into the bathroom for mission 6 though, we'll be pleasantly surprised to find a mission that never required a car in the first place. Instead, we get to impersonate a police officer and run around collecting buzz cola cans to stop it from brainwashing the Springfield citizens. And while doing this, we actually got to appreciate this game's incredible soundtrack. If you didn't know, for every mission, the soundtrack only activates if you're in a vehicle, so most of this challenge has just been spent in really awkward silence, so it was nice to hear some music for a change. And now for the final mission of level 4, we have to destroy this very, very large vehicle. There is absolutely no chance we'll be able to do this, so it will be another skip mission. However, on one run, it did crash into a wall whilst I was riding it, and did a bit of damage. So I'll take it as a win that I was able to at least do something to it. Apu's level is up next, and at this point there's still 2 more levels to come after it. And the thing is, up until this point, I haven't driven once. I'm still completing the challenge when I skip a mission, so why does it feel like I'm losing? It started off really well, but now I hardly get to play the game. I did manage to beat mission 2 here, and it was actually really difficult. I had to get away from 2 mafia cars who were chasing me, all while running to get to the hospital on time, so I get some sense of accomplishment for a fleeting moment just to be hit with needing to skip every single other mission in the level. And level 6 was no different. Missions 1 and 2 both inevitably skipped after 2 hours of attempting them. Mission 3 was a following mission, which we were able to ride the whole time and complete it by doing a sick jump over this bridge, but then once again, skip, 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 skip. And I get it, we're playing a game revolved around driving. We're not supposed to not get into a vehicle, and I'm the one that's stupid for trying it. But I just wanted to say quickly, if you're disappointed by how much of the game I've had to skip, just know that I am too. This was supposed to be a way for me to re-experience a game I loved in my own unique way, but as it's turning out, if I want to beat this challenge, I'm having to sacrifice the enjoyment of playing the game. And that's not really what I expected when I went into this challenge. I don't do a ton of research ahead of time, I just take these videos as they come, and they don't always work out how I hoped they would. But that's okay. This is the reality of this challenge, and despite the expectations of what I'd hoped it could be, it's not my place to try and fake or pretend like it's not. But with all that being said, we've come so far into this journey, and I don't plan on quitting at the last hurdle. So without further ado, let's head into the final level of The Simpsons Hit and Run. Level 7 takes place in an alien-invaded Springfield. We start off with a mission from Flanders, who tasked us with getting to Cletus's house in just 40 seconds. A distance far too great to cover within the time limit, so we have to skip. The next mission takes place at the school, where the aliens have decided to park their spaceship. Except we can't start it without purchasing the zombie car all the way back at the cemetery. So I made my way over, collecting all the coins I could on the way, purchased the vehicle, and to no one's surprise, we get struck with the big 10-second countdown and have to skip the mission. Now from this point on, all the missions are pretty much the same and are all equally impossible. In order to fight off the aliens, Homer's job for the rest of the game is to deliver barrels of nuclear waste from the power plant all the way across the map to the spaceship. And this isn't Death Stranding, so we unfortunately can't get them there on foot. With mission skipped, we end up where we're supposed to be back at the school, and now the mission is to just go all the way back to the power plant to pick up more nuclear waste. We've been able to do these missions in the past, but since this is the last level, the game now has a time limit just to get into our car. And once we're inside, we then get just 2 minutes to run to the power plant. Even if this was somehow enough time, along the way I also start getting chased by an alien car that I have to try and outrun. So it's safe to say this is another skipping mission, leaving us with just 3 missions left until we reach the credits. And all 3 were exactly the same. We had to drive nuclear waste into the spaceship so we could destroy it for good. Now, to my surprise, I was actually allowed out of my vehicle. Not only that, but I did find a way to move the nuclear waste towards the school. The issue was there was a time limit, and there was no chance in any timeline that I could ever get this to the school in time using this method. So I did my usual restart the mission 7 times, ready to press the skip button, but it never showed up. And a quick Google search later revealed to me that the last 3 missions in this game are all unskippable. It had taken me over 10 hours of trying and failing the same missions over and over to get to this point. And despite my grievances I had with this challenge and having to skip missions, I thought at least by the end of this video I would be able to say that yes, you can beat Simpsons Hit and Run without driving. But that is simply not the case. Surprisingly though, I wasn't upset to hear this news. Apart from the first 2 levels, I haven't really gotten to experience any of this incredible game. I used to love playing this as a child, so for the first time in a very long time, I was finally free to do what I'd always wanted to from the start. Despite the challenges we've overcome and the hours put into this, right at the very last hurdle, we have no choice but to get into a car and drive. But is it actually a loss? My original rule said yes, it is impossible to beat the game without driving. But from an in-game standpoint, there has been something I've been contemplating with the entire time. In almost all of the challenges we skipped, including these final 3 missions, the character I am in control of has always been in the passenger seat. This is even acknowledged by characters in-game that we are not the ones driving the vehicle. Yes, I, the player, have control over it, and in that sense I am driving the car, but me as the character in-game has never once touched the steering wheel. It's hard to think about, but honestly I wasn't too bothered about it anymore. It was just fun to finally be able to play this game, and I reached the credits with a failed challenge, but also with a feeling that once brought a younger version of myself so much fun.
Oh, whoops. Stop it, Stoppy. Bro's just playing Simpsons Run. Is that a hit? And yeah, because there's no Simpsons Skip and Run. Yeah, I like that one. Oh, don't worry. But assuming the day at the newspaper matches the year the game came out, it would be Sunday anyway, and Bart wouldn't be skipping school. Skinner is just completely insane. I admire the integrity of actually accepting the loss here and not using it as a fake out like so many other videos do. Blah 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 blah. Here, look, let me close this so that you can see. Wonderful, thank you. That's great. Alright. So, I need to work out how the fuck to bring this audio, bring this audio as an actual audio. So if I do that, and then I do that, and then I do that, and then I go like this, and I drag this in, I can. Okay. Okay, so let me just back up. I'm just init preset. Do 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 do. Baby, I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. The more of you I get, the stranger it feels. Yeah. Alright, we're back in. Alright, so now we're going to drag this sample in to Serum. And actually, let's drag it in as a wavetable. Let's drag the sample into a wavetable into Serum and drag it into the other side. And let's find a nice waveform. Call it that one. Who cares? Find another nice waveform. Call it that one. Who cares? And we're just going to FM it from each other. Let's see what it sounds like. Let's do lower pitch. Now, for the sub bass, I want to use a sine wave, but I'm not going to. This is going to be purely just from the clap. Cool. Alright, let's do some distortion on the second one. Nope. Filter. No need. Let's just keep that off. Alright, so we've got this. Cool. Let's add some LFOs. Cool. Change the shape a little bit. Increase the speed. Cool. Let's add some bode. Nope. Let's add some hyper, add some width. Cool. Add some distortion. Overdrive. Cool. Let's add a convolve just to get a little more fancy with it. Good. That adds a little more depth to it. Let's add a flanger to again add some more depth to it. I'm going to reduce the rate and put it on the depth itself. There it is. And we'll do the same thing but with a phaser. Rate down to 0. Let's just do 2 poles and modulate the frequency this time. Reduce the mix down a smidge. Same with the flanger. And finish it off with a compressor multiband. Without? With. It's not needed. We don't need the compressor. And let's leave it there for now, because we are going to add let's check what the waveform looks like. Proper messy. Let's do a little duck around here. About there, because we're going to add some saturation. And then do another EQ. And then some more saturation. Cool. Very good. Group those together, get them out of the way. Let's add some reverb. Cool. Let's hear it. Alright. Whoops. So we've got that synth. Let's make another. Let's try a different waveform. Try a different waveform. Fucking hell. Put that on the level to clean it up a bit. That's our next one. Let's add another. Try some new waveforms. Try some more waveforms. That's our new one. Cool. Very cool. Make some notes. Dun, dun. Whoops. We don't want to get rid of that. We want to just copy that. All right, we'll do a little bit of those. Let's lower that. Got to think of a decent melody. We don't need that first, though it's too heavy. We can have it maybe at the end. I'll have that. We'll have a diggy diggy. And then we've got that there. Don't need that. And this is good. Let's add some delay onto that. Cool. Let's try it one semi. So let's try it one octave below. And we can add some delay to that as well. And let's have another bass line underneath this just to thicken it up a little bit. But have it the same sort of vibe. Without that, and without the reverb. We'll keep the thickness, and the shape is going to be more like this. Keep it mono, legato. We can leave that there, that's fine. Let's just remove that. Let's make that a little thinner in the headspace. Out the subs. Cool. I'm going to add some slaps in there as claps, just as a little more flavor to it, more than anything. Let's get some crashes in there from slaps as well. So I'm going to take this slap, do the same treatment I did with the hi-hats. Exact same treatment as the hi-hats. Sounds like a good hi-hatty sound. Such a different sound. Before, wait, hang on. Before, after. Lovely. But I need it to be longer. Ooh, what I might do is add a resonator. I'm not going to add a resonator. Try vocoder, see what it sounds like. Add a vocoder, make it a little more shaky. And this is a good sound, but what I'm going to do is freeze it, flatten it, give it a fade in and a fade out, and then we've got ourselves a full-on shaker. Yeah. And so we're gonna, yeah. Let's hear it in context. Let's hear that shaker. Beautiful. We're just going to join that together. That just adds a little extra flavor to it. And bam, bam. And now all we need to do is make a sweep up, but with a clap. Shouldn't be too hard. We've done everything else. I'm going to take the clap, see what we can do with it. So the beginning is a bit harsh. Let's just take the tail end. Actually, let's take the whole thing and let's do something really simple. Let's add a shit ton of delay. Even more delay. Much better. Let's make it fade lower down. Good. A little more breadth. Good. Let's add some reverb. Even more. Awesome. Good, good, good. Now let's just quickly freeze that and flatten it. We've got ourselves our build, but let's make it better. So we're going to reverse it. There we go. So this is, there we go. We need, let's make it louder. Let's add a fade in. And this is what we got. Well, let's make sure this is okay volume. And we'll add a little delay. Let's add a little delay so that it doesn't feel out of place when it ends. We'll have it end there. That does it. And let's have a listen. Anything can be dubstep. Alright, look. We're done. We're done over here. I'm going to turn that into a video. Should I do that now, actually, whilst I'm still on stream? Might as well, right? That's going to be long, though. It's over an hour footage, but shouldn't be. It's doable. You know what I mean? Let's see. So we've got that. We need to keep the slap video. And it should be in movies. Yep, there it is. Just drag that out. Drag that out, not out. And we open up Final Cut Pro. File, new project. File, new event, I guess. It's cool. Yeah, we'll leave it as that. Leave it as that. Fine. New project. Can I just drag something on right now? Nope. Now I can. There we go. Bam, bam, bam. 60. Why would it be? We only need it to be 25, really. Resolution is fine. Everything else is fine. So I'm going to cut it where it starts.
Now everything can be dubstep.
Yes, it can.
Even a slap.
She loved it. Alright, just for ease, let's add a little bit of text. Can be dubstep. Not everything can be dubstep. And it starts there. That's good. It's a good size, but I need. Whoops. I need. Not everything can be dubstep. Let's put that at minus 260. That's where I like to keep it.
Now everything can be dubstep.
Yes, it can. I'm so annoying, man. I don't like this at all.
Yes, it can.
Even a slap.
Even a slap.
We'll do a fade out just for ease. We'll make it fade out quite relatively quickly. And do it over there. Let's see what that looks like.
Even a slap.
We'll have a little zoom in so that it's clear that the slap happens. We don't need the zoom in. And we don't need that. There is a little extra sound after. Cut that out. There we go. Cool. And then we can get straight into the video. This might take a little while to load in. Alright, so let me get the timer started. So apparently a slap can be dubstep. Let's sort this out. Let's zoom in. So here's the slap. So here's the... Let's just get the good footage, then we'll do the zoom-ins. I think that might be the best play. Or, yeah, because I don't know. No, let's duplicate it. This might be long-winded actually, but let's duplicate it. Remove the sound from this one. This one will be me at the top. Zoomed in even more. Just like that. There we go. And this one will be the screen footage below. There we go. So here's the slap. It can be better. Can it be better, buddy? I can't even see anything because it's too zoomed out. So maybe we don't zoom out yet. Okay, let me just go back. Take this and reset it. Bring it down so I can at least see it. That's fine. And cut it there still. Yeah, because it's a good place to cut it. Because we've got the audio. So here's the slap. Let's do the 3 slaps. Slap, slap, slap. So just going to turn up the gain, make it a little more visible. So here's the slap. Let's make it quicker. So here's the slap. Just going to turn up the gain, make it a little more visible. Just going to turn up the gain, cut it there, and have that new slap. Just going to turn up the gain. We've got a little crunch after, so I'm going to remove that. And use just that sound instead of that one. Just going to turn up the gain. That's all we've got for a clap. All right. Well, let's get started. So, bro is so loud. My God, that's what you guys are hearing. Let me turn down that fucking shit. Whoops, I copied the filter instead. Filters. Let me turn down that. There we go. About there, because now I can still. There. All right, I think that'll do. Hang on, let me just double check where we are in time. Wow. Okay. All right, let's go. Well, let's get started. Let's turn it into a kick. Okay, that's a good one. Let's turn it into first. It's so goddamn loud, man. First, let's turn it into a kick. As the slap, I'm going to command X and V into the kick section. Bam. All right, so get it to the line. There we go. Literally all the way to there. But we're going to keep starting. Maybe I zoom in. Beats, and I'm going to keep it on beats, pitch it down. Doesn't matter about keeping it on beats. Does matter about pitching it down. Pitch it down. Cool. Needs to be pitched down further. Add some saturation. Add some saturation. Add some saturation. Add some saturation. EQ that fucker. EQ that fucker. You can see right here, the peak is here. Let's pitch it down a little more. Let's pitch it down. So let's pitch it down a little more. We need it around 100. Let's pitch it down a little more. So that's good. Okay, so here's the slap. Just going to turn up the gain. First, let's turn it into a kick. Pitch it down. EQ. Turn it into a kick. Pitch it down. Pitch it down. Let's pitch it down a little more. Pitch it down. EQ. Let's pitch it down a little more. EQ. EQ that fucker. Now let's increase the drive. Sounding a little more kick-like. There we go. That's sounding a little more kick. What's this? Increase the drive. Now let's increase the drive. That's a lot better. That's a lot better. EQ that fucker. Let's turn it into a kick. Pitch it down. EQ that fucker. That's sounding a little more kick-like. There we go. Now let's increase the drive. EQ that fucker. Wait. Oh, drive is there. EQ that fucker. Now let's increase the drive. Increase the drive. The drive. Drive. We just need drive. Drive. Pitch it down. EQ that fucker. Drive. EQ. Sounding a little more like there we go. Keep the high end and clean it up a bit. The tail is arguably too long. I'm going to shorten it. And we'll cut out that low end. Arguably too long. The tail is arguably too long. I'm going to shorten it. And we'll cut out that low end. Something tonal that I don't like here. Good. Let's add some more saturation. Good. Cool. Let's take that. EQ that fucker. Let's add some more saturation. Great. And let's freeze it and flatten it. Ourselves our kick. And not the cleanest, not the prettiest, but it's a fucking kick, yo. Next up, let's get a snare going. Let's add some more saturation. Let's get a snare going. Got ourselves our kick. We've got ourselves our kick. We've got ourselves our kick. Not the cleanest, not the prettiest, but it's a fucking kick, yo. Fucking kick. It's a fucking kick, yo. And flatten it. We've got ourselves our kick. We've got ourselves our kick. We've got ourselves our kick. Let's get a snare going. So distorted. I feel so bad that you've had to endure to listen to that, honestly. At least it's a lot better now. Yeah, it's a lot better now, I think. Honestly, the slap already kind of sounds like a snare. Let's hear it in total. It's not the best. It's not the best. All right, we need some EQ on that. Some EQ on. EQ on. Let's get a snare going. EQ on that. That's what I want, and I'm going to saturate EQ on that. Keep forgetting to include the vocals, but there we go. That's what I want, and I'm going to saturate the fuck out of it. To saturate the fuck. I'm going to saturate the fuck out of it. Honestly, sounds so much more like a hi-hat than a snare. That's good. I'm going to add a peak around 200. That's where I want the punch of the snare to be hitting. Saturate the EQ on that. Saturate the fuck out of it. That's good. I'm going to add a peak around 200. That's where I want the punch of the snare to be hitting. EQ on that. So let's get rid of that one. The EQ part later. I did do it later. EQ on that. Not the best, does the job. We'll add a little erosion just to add a little substance to it. We didn't. Lovely. And we'll add a little erosion just to add a little substance to it. Lovely. And the fuck out of it. EQ on that. Erosion just to add a little substance to it. Lovely. And some reverb. Some reverb. Some reverb. There it is, and we'll flatten it. There it is, and we'll flatten it. And that is our new snare. That is our new snare. Bam. Isn't that looking pretty? I'm going to move it on to the area so that it can under our audio when we need. Going to clean that part up. The kick is that. Bam. Is that. So, time for some hi-hats. Some hi-hats. Reverb. That is our new snare. Some hi-hats. Already this sounds like a hi-hat. I might just leave it as is for the hi-hat. It's decent, needs some EQ in. It's decent. Some reverb. That is our new snare. Some hi-hats. Need some EQ in. Let's cut that shorter. Let's see where we're at. Let's clean that up. Add some EQs. And a little bit of reverb. Need some EQ in. Right there. Need some EQ in. And a little bit of reverb. Those. And a little bit of reverb. And a little bit of reverb. Why am I breathing so much reverb? Awesome. And a little bit of reverb. Add a little zhuzhing. A little bit there. Kick needs some work. Let's check. It needs. Problem with erosion, it doesn't go low enough. Saturation is fine. We could try increasing the transients. Increase the boom. Increasing the transients. Saturate the fuck out of it. Let's add some more saturation. We've got ourselves our kick. Increasing the transients. Increase the boom. Increasing the transients. Increase the boom. Try some crunch. Crunch didn't work. Before. After. A little better. And one more time, we'll add some saturation. Some saturation. It thickens it up a bit more. Too much? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Cool. And the snare is good. EQ that fucker. Increasing the transients. Let's see so far.
Not everything can be dubstep.
Yes, it can.
Even a slap.
So here's the slap. Just going to turn up the gain.
Not everything can be dubstep.
Yes, it can.
Not everything can be dubstep. Dubstep.
Yes, it can.
We'll do transitions with the text later on. For now. So here's the slap. Just going to turn up the gain. First, let's turn it into a kick. Pitch it down. Drive. EQ that fucker. Let's add some more saturation. Increasing the transients. Increase the boom. Some saturation. We've got ourselves our kick. Let's get a snare going. Saturate the fuck out of it. EQ on that. Erosion just to add a little substance to it. Some reverb. That is our new snare. Some hi-hats. Need some EQ in. And a little bit of reverb. And the snare is good, needs elongating. So Snare is good, needs elongating. Needs elongating. Let's try the same treatment. Let's try the same treatment. Needs elongating. And the snare is good. Snare is good. Needs elongating. Elongating. Good needs elongating. Treatment. That's good. Erosion, just to add a little substance to it. Some reverb. That is our. Whoops. I want to increase that volume. My goodness, no. Okay, we'll just command exit then. You don't want me to. Reverb. Needs elongating. That is our new snare. Some hi-hats. Need some EQ in. And a little bit of reverb. Cool. So, we've got our kick, we've got our snare, we've got our hi-hats. Time for the bass line. Time for the bass line. We're going to use our trusty serum. Trusty serum. And simply drag the waveform into the oscillator. Trusty serum. We're going to use our trust waveform. I'm just going to drag it in 2025. This waveform. All right, so now we're going to drag this sample in. We're going to use our trusty. We're going to use trusty serum. Trusty serum. And simply time for the bass line. Trusty serum. Drag this sample in. Drag this sample in to serum. To serum. And actually, let's drag it in as a wavetable. Drag this sample in to serum. And actually, let's drag it in as a wavetable. Drag this sample in to serum as a wavetable. Let's drag the sample into a wavetable into serum. Much better. Time for the bass line. Let's drag the sample into a wavetable into serum. And drag it into the other side. Wavetable into serum. And drag it into the other side. Let's find a nice waveform. Let's find a nice waveform. Call it that one. Who cares? Find another nice waveform. Call it that one. Find another nice waveform. call it that one. Who cares? And we're just going to FM it from each other. And we're just going to FM it from each other. Let's see what it sounds like. Each other. Let's do lower pitch. FM it from each other. Now, the sub bass, I want to use a sine wave, but I'm not going to. This is going to be purely just from the clap. For the sub bass, I want to use a sine wave, but I'm not going to. This is going to be purely just from the clap. So I include that from each other. Cool. All right, let's some distortion. Some distortion. Nope. Filter. No need. He decided against it. Such a shame. That actually sounded quite good with the filter. No need. Let's just keep that off. All right, so we've got this. Cool. Cool. Let's add some LFOs. Let's add some LFOs. Cool. Change the shape a little bit. Increase the speed. Change the shape a little bit. Increase the speed. Rid of these little gaps. Let's make it a little quicker. And we're just going to FM it from each other. Let's add some LFOs. Let's add some. Let's add some LFOs. Change the shape a little bit. Increase the speed. Cool. Remove the. Increase the speed. Change the shape a little bit. Change the shape. There. Do it quicker. Change the shape. That. Just 2 LFOs is all that's needed. Change the shape. Cool. Let's add some bode. Nope. Let's add some hyper, add some width. Add some hyper, some hyper, add some width. Add some width. Add some width. Cool. Add some distortion. Some distortion. Add some distortion. Add some distortion. Cool. Let's add a convolve just to get a little more fancy with it. Convolve. Convolve. Just to get a little. Good. That adds a little more depth to it. Let's add a flanger. 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 To again add some more depth to it, I'm going to put it off. Add some width. Add some distortion. Convolve. Flanger. There it is. And we'll do the same thing but with a phaser. Same thing but with a phaser. Two poles, the mix down a smidge. Phaser. And finish it off with a compressor multiband without need it. With. It's not needed. We don't need the compressor. And let's leave it there for now. We are going to add. Let's check what the waveform looks like. Let's do a little duck around here. Duck around here. Proper messy. Proper messy. Let's do a little form looks like. Duck around here. Duck around here. About there, because we're going to add some saturation. To add some saturation. Some saturation. Duck saturation. Duck saturation. And then do another EQ. Another EQ. Do duck around here. Duck around here. Saturation. And then do another EQ. Do another EQ. And then some more saturation. More saturation. Another EQ. More saturation. Cool. Very good. Group those together, get them out of the way. Let's add some reverb. Add some reverb. Add some reverb. Some reverb. Some reverb. Cool. Let's hear it. All right. Whoops. So we've got that synth. Let's make another. Reverb. Let's make another. Try a different waveform. Try a different waveform. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. That's our next one. Let's fucking hell. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. Reverb. Fucking hell. That's our next one. Let's add another. Try a different waveform. Let's try. So we've got that synth. Reverb. Another EQ. More saturation. Reverb. So we've got that synth. So we've got that synth. So we've got that synth. Reverb. So we've got that synth. Fucking hell. Let's make another. So we've got that synth. Let's make another. Reverb. So we've got that synth. Let's make. So we've got that synth. Let's make another. Reverb. So we've got that synth. Reverb. So we've got that synth. Let's make another. Fucking hell. That's our next one. Let's add. That's our next one. Let's add another. Try some new wavetable, more waveforms. That's our new one. That's our new one. That's our new one. That's our next one. Let's add another. That's our new one. Cool. Very cool. Make some notes. Make some notes. Got to think of a decent melody. We don't need the same. Let's try one underneath this just to thicken it up a little. And let's have another bass line underneath this just to thicken it up a little bit. Yeah. A little extra. Let's get some crashes in there from slaps as well. Take this slap, do the same treatment I did with the hi-hats, exact same treatment as the hi-hats. Sounds like a good hi-hatty sound. Such a different sound. Before, wait, hang on. Before, after. Lovely. But I need it to be longer. Ooh, what I might do is add a resonator. I'm not going to add a resonator. Add a vocoder, make it a little more shaky. And this is a good sound, but what I'm going to in and a fade out, and then we've got ourselves a full-on shaker. Yeah, let's hear it in context. Let's hear that shaker. We're just going to join that together. Let's make another. Make some notes. How did it go, Tam? Hang on, let me mute myself. Notes. Let's get some crashes in there. Do the same treatment I did with the hi-hats. Treatment as a hi. So the beginning is a bit, and now all we need to do is I'm going to take the, and now all we need to do is make a sweep up. A sweep up. But with, shouldn't be too hard. Anything can be dubstep. Anything can be dubstep. So here's the slap. Just gonna turn up the gain. Just gonna turn up the gain. First, let's turn it into a kick. Pitch it down. Drive it into a kick. Pitch it down. Drive. Drive. EQ. Drive. EQ. EQ that fucker. EQ that fucker. Let's EQ that fucker. Let's add some more saturation. Let's add some more saturation, increasing the transients. Increasing the transients. Hi Rojo, welcome to the stream, bro. Sorry, I've been not speaking to you. He's just come online, Tam. Don't feel guilty. It's been more than a minute because he's not on my screen, but yeah, he wasn't speaking to me before you came in. Let's add some more saturation, increasing the transients, increase the boost. So the plan is to just keep zooming in and showing what I'm doing. I suppose you can't hear the song. Do you want to hear the song? Do you want to? I'll show you it after. You can just join me on this journey and you'll hear every step of the process, yeah? Increase the boom. Increase the boom. So again, I'm just zooming into the boom. Zoom in even more because I need to make sure that we can see the boom. Increase the boom. Some saturation. We don't need that. Boom. Some saturation. Some saturation. We've got ourselves. Zoom in. Show the saturator. Zoom in a little more so that it's not too low. We're going to leave a little bit of black at the bottom of the video just because who cares? No one sees it. We've got ourselves our kick. We've got ourselves our kick. Let's get a snare going. Let's get a snare going. Have it there so we can see kick and snare. Let's get a snare going. Zoom in, show that it's just a clap. Saturate the saturate the fuck out of it. Increase, so the saturation drives so high. Saturate the fuck out of it. EQ on that. EQ on that. Erosion just yeah, I'm just trying to zoom in and show the progress of what's going on each step. Erosion just to add a zoom in a lot more. Bless your heart, buddy. How you doing, big dog? You good? Erosion just to add a little substance to it. And we can hear the substance that it adds. Zooming in a lot more than that. Some reverb. Zoom out a little bit. Some reverb. Needs verb. Needs elongating. Needs elongating. Needs elongating. That is our new snare. Some hi-hats. Then we zoom in again. Go off the snare. That is our new snare. Some hi-hats. I had a play date with my best straight guy friend yesterday. Had pizza and watched some movies, but I woke up before 8 a.m. and that's a big win. You a late waker, bro? You wake up late often? I mean, before 8 a.m. I mean, you're retired, right? So I suppose you don't need to wake up before 8 a.m. anymore. Some hi-hats. Some hi-hats. Needs literally just made out of this slap. Tammy slapping my face, and I'll show you the full video in a moment. Yeah, it's I think it's a quite decent video. We'll see. Need some EQ in. Need some EQ in, and I'll zoom in. With the insulin, it's weirdly made me lethargic. Ah, fun. I was sleeping till almost noon. Damn, I see. So what time do you go to sleep? Do you go to sleep quite late then? And a little bit of reverb. Zoom in more because I can't see the words. Here we go. And a little bit of reverb. We're going to zoom in disgusting about this time because I just want to show the wet. Try wet. Guess we don't zoom in that amount. Let's just reset it. Why would I change that? It doesn't make sense, does it? Don't need this kick and snare bullshit there. Reverb. Let's just leave it like that. Midnight or 1 AM. Damn. Bro's real sleeping late, ah. That's not too late. It just means that you're sleeping for like 12 hours actually, isn't it? That's nuts. Time for the bass line. Time for the bass line. Let's drag this sample into a wavetable. This was so much fun to do, by the way. Literally, I just got Tam to slap me in my face, and then we made a I'm making a dubstep song out of it. Fucking awesome, honestly. Let's drag this sample into a wavetable into Serum. We'll move this side so you can see it a little better. There we go. Let's drag this sample into a wavetable into Serum. And Serum, drag it into the other side. Drag it into the other. 1, 2, 3. Drag it over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's fine. We'll just leave it there. Drag it into the other side. Find a nice waveform. Find a nice waveform. Find another nice waveform, and this one's on oscillator B. There it is. Find another nice waveform, and we're just going to FM it from. And we're just going to FM. Zoom down. It from each other. And we're just going to FM it from each other. Let's zoom out a bit so that people can see. I want people to see not just the waveforms, but the oscillator as they change. Now, what is that? Let's do 300 for ease, 500 for ease, minus 650 for ease, 500, 650, 300. 500 minus 650, 300. For some reason, this isn't making sounds in my headphones. Why are you all dressed up professionally today, sir? It's because I'm recording and I want my stream, my brand to look like this, with a collar with a jumper, or at least just a collar. You know, that's the brand that I'm looking to go for, just because I like wearing that sort of clothes. When I'm not wearing it, it means I'm just kind of resting, or like not planning on being on camera. Guess it's there-ish. I don't know why this moved, but it did. 580, 750. Oh, 580 minus 750, and that's still 300. Let's see what that works. And we are modulating the warp this time. And we're putting it on an LFO. Let's add some LFOs. Do it here. Let's add some LFOs. Let's add some LFOs. Change the shape. Change the shape. Good stuff, eh? Then we zoom in, show the whip whip. Very quiet. Let's add some LFOs. Change the shape. Add some width. And it's just some hyper. I'm gonna go bam. And go bam. Add some width. Add some width. Add some distortion. So that I'm going on to distortion. There we go. Add some distortion. That's where it starts to pick up. Convolve. Convolve? Question mark. Wasn't sure if it was going to be a good idea, but it was. Convolved. Sounded so good with the convolve on it. Flanger. Flanger, always amazing. Flanger and phasers, always amazing. Zoom in. Flanger. So good, man. I love flangers. Phaser. 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 It adds so much more depth, character to it. You know what I mean? Duck around here. Duck around here. Saturation. Zoom in. Bring it up. Saturation. Duck around here. Saturation. Another. Bring that up. Show the saturation. There we go. Saturation. Another EQ. And then another duck in. Around the same area. Another EQ. More saturation. More saturation. Zoom in. We show more saturation. Reverb. Saturation. More saturation. Reverb. Reverb. And let's zoom in a shit ton. Show the reverb. There we go. Reverb. Awesome. And it would be cool if I could show this without it being like fucking shit. But I can't. What I could try to do is just do that, and then my reverb. So we've got that synth. Let's make. So we've got that synth. Let's make. So we've got that synth. Let's make another. So we've got that synth. Let's make another. Let's make another. Zoom in and we'll show that the synth is being selected again. So we've got that synth. Let's make another. This is good, but I want to show the serum on the screen whilst I'm doing that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold, cut, shorten, drag it down, drag that there to that end, and that should start there, and then that's actually where it goes. And just to make it a little more dramatic, we're going to add an earthquake onto that. Fucking hell. Fucking hell. That's our next one. That's our next one. Let's add another. This one's awesome. I really like this one. This one's cute. It's a cute sound. That's our new one. That's our new one. Zoom in just a smidgen more, just so we can see that there is other ones there. That's our new one. Make some notes. Make some notes. And now all we need to do is make a sweep up. And now all we need to do is make a sweep up. Let me let it render for a bit, because it'll take a little while to render. Yeah, when you message, it should make like a ding or whatever sound in my ear, but it's not. It's a bit of a shame. Look at me just spawning there. Whoa, what a wacko. Minus 250, I guess. Minus 220, I guess. 250, I guess. See if we can remember that. 250, 220, 250. Minus 250, minus 220, 250. 250, minus 220, 250. I can hear the alert on this end, sir, when I chat. Oh. Why then? Why can I not hear it? That's really strange. Can you send me a message in chat? I'm gonna watch it on the screen. Send me a message. Let me watch it on the screen. See if it shows up on my levels. Yeah, nothing shows up on my levels. There's no. Yeah, there's nothing there. So for you, you can hear the bling or whatever, right? That's really strange. There should be no audio whatsoever. There should genuinely be no audio. There should be audio, but it's not showing that there is any audio being picked up at all. That is very, very strange. I can just open that up, bring that there, instead of writing it all out again. Though it's actually quicker if I do just do it again, to be honest with you. Because I can remember it. So minus 250, minus 220, 250. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Let's call that 0 then. Call that minus 550 then. And that's fine. 0 minus 550. 0 minus 550. Yeah, I can hear the alert. That's really strange. That's really, really super duper strange. Oh well, whatever. I guess it doesn't matter. It's good that you can hear it. Anything can be dubstep. Alright, so that's the end result before you watch the whole thing. We make sure there's nothing that needs to be rendered. Yep, all good. Alright, let's have a watch.
Not everything can be dubstep.
Yes, it can.
Even a slap.
So here's the slap. Just going to turn up the gain. First, let's turn it into a kick. Pitch it down. Drive. EQ that fucker. Let's add some more saturation. Increasing the transients. Increase the boom. Some saturation. We've got ourselves our kick. Let's get a snare going. Saturate the fuck out of it. EQ on that. Erosion just to add a little substance to it. Some reverb. Needs elongating. That is our new snare. Some hi-hats. Need some EQ in. And a little bit of reverb. Time for the bass line. Let's drag the sample into a wavetable into Serum. Drag it into the other side. Find a nice waveform. Find another nice waveform. And we're just going to FM it from each other. Let's add some LFOs. Change the shape. Add some width. Add some distortion. Convolve. Flanger. Phaser. Duck around here. Saturation. Another EQ. Some more saturation. Some reverb. So we've got that synth. Let's make another. Fucking hell. That's our next one. Let's add another. That's our new one. Make some notes. And now all we need to do is make a sweep up. Anything can be dubstep. I mean, what do you think? What do you think? I think it's quite good. I need to add some animations to the text here, but otherwise I think it's quite good. She breathes and she goes, no. And during that, I'm going to have this fade, this not fade. Actually, yeah, go on then. I can have it fade in, to be honest. I didn't plan to, but I could. I could have it fade in. That's a cool concept. So right there, that size, that ambiguity, good. We're going to make it bigger, come from below, come from nothingness.
Not everything can be dubstep.
And then as this goes to the side, so does the text. So you can see her chinny chin chins on the R. You did it! Yeah, I did it. It's good, isn't it? Okay, 1, 2, and then that's gonna go there. 1, then it's gone.
Dubstep.
Yes, it can.
And this is where? Where is this? This is just on my side of my face. Okay, sure, whatever. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's really where I can really start tracking it out there. So 1, 2, there. It should be there, 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 there. Okay, so it's actually side of my face, side of my mouth sort of thing. So that, whoops, that should be, yeah, there, that's fine. That should be there. 1, 2, and it's out.
Yes, it can.
And then we've right there, it's going to be stuck to my teeth. The top of the Y is where my teeth is. So 1, 2. That's going to go there. 1, 2. Then it's gone.
Yes, it can.
Cool. And I didn't move it back,
Yes,
did
it
I?
can.
I fucking well did. I meant to shorten that. There we go. And we can see that this should be just underneath her chinny chin chin. Or, because she takes such a long time to speak, maybe I fade this one in as well. So let me do a Command T, and it fades in from, and we'll have it big, go from big, low down, so bigger, and low down. So it goes like this.
Even a slap.
And then, just for funsies, because we made it come from the bottom big to smaller, we're going to make it go from the middle to the top smaller. I'm going to make it smaller, go up. Can't even see it, but... Or, instead of that, we just have it move. So it's there, it stays there, right there, that's where it starts to move. So it's there, just underneath our chin, 1, 2, there, underneath our chin, 1, 2, then it's gone. Bam.
Even a slap.
So here's the slap. Just going to turn up the gain. There we go. And I think that's it. Is it a boring reel, do you think, or is it okay? What's your thoughts, Roho? Was there anything that you found quite boring? We can start from the beginning again.
Now everything can be dubstep.
Yes, it can.
Even a slap.
So here's the slap. Just going to turn up the gain. First, let's turn it into a kick. Pitch it down. Drive. EQ that fucker. Let's add some more saturation. Increasing the transients. Increase the boom. Some saturation. We've got ourselves our kick. Let's get a snare going. Saturate the fuck out of it. EQ on that. Erosion just to add a little substance to it. Some reverb. Needs elongating. That is our new snare. Some hi-hats. Need some EQ in. And a little bit of reverb. Time for the bass line. Let's drag this sample into a wavetable into Serum. Drag it into the other side. Find a nice waveform. Find another nice waveform. And we're just going to FM it from each other. Let's add some LFOs. Change the shape. Add some width. Add some distortion. Convolve. Flanger. And then there I'm going to say full stream on YouTube. And then that way, if anyone wants to watch it, they can. And they'll see me talking to you, Roho. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. All right, good. That's a good amount, I think. Thank you, bro. Let's have it fade in so it's not obnoxious. Anything can be dubstep. And we cut it there, and we call it there. Get a Command E, slap dubstep, export it to the desktop. We can watch it slowly export. As soon as it's done, this stream will end. So just to make sure we time it right, the time has stopped. And it's been a pleasure, Roho. Thank you so much for coming down. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Hopefully